What's up, guys? George Balekji here with Boston has entered the chat. But hey, check out the latest episode of Foxborough Rush wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime, or you can watch on Nesson's YouTube page as well. We continue to go in depth with Mike Vrabel, now the head coach of the New England Patriots. And this time we touch on who should be his coaching staff, who should be his coordinators. And we also hear from former player Logan Ryan as well. Of course, two-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots, but played for 3 seasons with Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. Great perspective from him. For someone that vouched for the Patriots to hire him, played for him as well, and knows the Patriot way too. That is Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcast. Now, let's get to the chat. All right, let's bring it in.
Yeah.
Come on in. Water's warm, feeling fine.
Come on.
Got a packed day of Boston has entered the chat. I'm George Balekji. He's Travis Thomas. Got a great show for you guys today. We're going to talk about Coach Prime going to Big D. We're going to talk about Mike Vrabel and what he shared in his first radio interview. You know he always does. The head coach of the Patriots, are weekly spots. Well, he went in depth, 30 minutes on WEEI. We break down some of his sound bites there. And then also we talk some WWE Raw week 2. What happened on Monday night as well. But Trav, first off, how we doing, my man?
I'm doing great. And you know what's even better is I'm thinking to myself, okay, Prime may be available as a head coach. Mike McCarthy now available as a head coach. Okay, weighing my pros and my cons. Yep, I still want Mike Vrabel. Thanks. Good job, Patriots.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You look at what's available now, and you're like, I like our guy.
It was 2 options, Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
2 very different types of cups of coffee.
Right.
You like it how you like it. Either black with espresso shots maybe added to it, or heavy on the cream, whichever way you want to go. What
about if you want a little Bailey's Irish cream?
I feel like it's a Vrabel. I feel like it's a Vrabel go.
Okay.
The one time when
same page.
I forget the name, the U.S. Open, when it was at Brookline.
Yeah.
And I was there on the Saturday, walking around. It was me, my buddy Ben, who flew in for it, along with his wife Ashley.
Yeah.
We're walking by, and it's literally Vrabel by himself.
Big dude?
Yeah, huge.
Of course.
And I just threw out the, Mike, having a good time? And he goes, I'd be having a lot better time if I didn't have to wait 4 effing hours for a beer. Lines for beer were long, man.
That's a Vrabel story right there.
And he kept it on moving. I go, yeah, I guess that's Mike Vrabel for you. But hey, you guys know the drill. We always started out with what's trending. Let's get to it. 3-minute timer, 3 minutes on the clock. We got 3 minutes to talk about each subject. And let's start with A.J. Brown.
Oh, God.
Launching his own book club on the sidelines. The book he was reading on the sidelines during the Eagles' playoff win over the Packers, Inner Excellence, written by Jim Murphy, went from being ranked 523rd, 1000th on Amazon to #1 on its bestsellers list over the weekend.
That's crazy, bro.
Good for him. Good for Jim Murphy. And good for A.J. Brown spreading the good word. The passage that he reads, too, because he shared it, this is a little excerpt from the book. And I think this is the one that spoke to A.J. Brown, speaks to it. We are so hard on ourselves, amplifying our failures and regrets, that we neglect to see what's still possible in a life of freedom, filled with deep contentment, joy, and confidence, independent of circumstances. We're all human with the same deep desires and concerns.
I should have played the G-damn violin during that. Also, here's a synopsis from this book. Discover the life guide that has developed world champions, empowered athletes to become world #1, and most importantly, transform their hearts and minds. Bruh, nothing in that book said maybe don't read a book on the sideline when you're winning a playoff game and you want the attention on yourself because you're not getting the ball because you're a diva wide receiver. Nothing in that book, huh? Self-help book. How about it helps you not be all about self? I know that went over somebody's head, but stay with me. A.J. Brown, not everything can be about you, bruh. Read the book after the game or pregame like LeBron does. I mean, show some respect during a game. Really? That doesn't look like you're pouting? Of course it does. Don't tell me you're buying this self-help crap during the middle of a...
What's the difference if he's sitting there meditating?
What?
Controlling his breathing.
It's not drawing attention to yourself if you're sitting there meditating. It's drawing attention when you pull out a book.
That's a little excerpt he highlighted and underlined that he shared with guys that covered the game.
This ain't college.
We've all had times when everything came together in perfect harmony, sacred moments. We're totally immersed in the experience and felt fully alive. When these moments occur, we wish, even for a split second, we had the courage to pursue this risky path with all our heart. He reads it in between drives. It settles him down. This is a guy that would throw absolute just rampages and chaos and just go hysterical on the sidelines. He's sitting down reading a book, and he's staying centered, and he's staying calm, and that's a growth.
I'm going to need this book
if
after this conversation.
If this is what works for him,
I can't believe
let
this.
him do it.
I can't believe. You can write an excerpt from a book on your damn wrist pad.
That's fine. Maybe print out the excerpt, laminate it, make it look like you're looking at it.
In a playoff game when there's 1,000 cameras on you, and by the way, you're not getting the ball. It's going to look like you're pouting.
But he wasn't. Him reading the book had no effect on him getting the ball. He had one catch for 10 yards.
We don't know that. I think it was an attention-seeking situation.
And how many times when, like, late in a game, if a player's struggling, they cut him on the bench and they're watching the game on the Jumbotron, right? Like, they're watching the game. They're not taking coaching. Yeah. What's the difference here? He's just reading it.
Oh, it's a big difference. It's drawing attention to you. When if the camera cuts to you and you're looking at the scoreboard, that's about us because we all affect this score. If it cuts to you on the sideline and you're reading a self-help book, this is about you. That's my issue with
Team
him.
AJ
He's a
here.
diva wide receiver. I would take him here gladly, though.
Reading books on the sidelines.
Yes, he can do whatever he wants.
Exactly
He can
my
take
point.
a whole college course
if
from
you
Harvard.
reading that book on the sideline gets you in the end zone on Sundays to be a top 5 wide receiver in the league at A.J. Brown, do whatever the F you want. Don't throw tantrums. Read books. Got you. I won that one. Hey, Jerry Jones, Deion Sanders, Collision Course, Big D, Shiloh, Shador, Dallas.
The whole family.
Well, let me say this. Deion Sanders in interviews has said the only way I would consider coaching the NFL is to coach my sons.
Yeah.
Plural.
Plural.
Then also there were the reports that came out from Adam Schefter that the both of them spoke Monday. No interview is scheduled, but they're expected to continue their dialogue. This comes on the heels of Mike McCarthy. The reports being that they're not agreeing to a contract and he'll be a free agent.
Right.
So you see it right there. And then CeeDee Lamb liked an Instagram post about Jerry Jones speaking with Deion Sanders.
Sure.
This is on par for Coach Prime, man.
It is.
2 years
Jarrah,
at 2 years at Jackson State, where he always said, God brought me here. I'm all about building up the HBCUs, bringing the attention. I'm all about that. Then he went to Colorado.
Yep.
2 years at Colorado, saying, I love what we're building here. I got a great AD. Then he's going to go to Dallas because he's going to have his sons there. And I get it. Like, Deion always says it's about a bigger thing. No, it's all about Prime, and that's fine. I'm fine with that. I don't know how he'll be as an NFL coach. I think he'd be okay. I mean, he's played for Jerry Jones. Obviously, he was with the Cowboys. I don't think this would be the best head coaching situation for him because, again, you have to deal with Jerry and him being a moron. But, I don't know. Also, he's going to want Shador there. Sorry. Cowboys are picking 12th.
Yeah, they can't get him.
They're going to have to trade up to 1 or 2.
Yeah.
That's 2 firsts. 2 seconds.
Right.
You also have Dak. Maybe you trade Dak. There's $195 million in dead cap.
Yeah. All this
shouldn't happen.
This is fantasy football stuff. And by the way, here's the thing. We're talking about the headline aspect of this. And across the board, you're right on all accounts. Prime being Prime with the spotlight. Jarrah being Jarrah. But at the end of the day, from a football perspective, this doesn't make sense. This is an older roster. Dak Prescott is paid like a Patrick Mahomes, and we all know damn well Dak Prescott is not a Patrick Mahomes. So you have that to deal with. I don't believe you could be, trading for his son and all that up to the number 1 pick. I don't see that happening. If I was Deion or on his team or his agent or something like that, I would use these Cowboy rumors as leverage to get me to Vegas. That's where I think all dreams can come true. I think Vegas has the assets and the abilities and the need, quite frankly, to trade up to the number 1 pick. You could draft your son. You can coach that team. You could probably, I would think, have some sort of input on a GM situation. Tom Brady's your boy. Tom Brady loves your son. Bada bing, bada boom. If Deion is as crafty as I think he is, and he does not stay in Boulder, and he comes to the NFL, it will not be for the star and Jarrah. It'll be for the Raiders in the desert.
That I like. It's like Mike Vrabel interviewing with the Jets to get the wheels churning for Foxborough. Like, hey, guys, I'm over here.
Happens all the time in this league.
And the Raiders, $92 million in cap space. They're picking 6. It's easier for them to move up. And also, the Raiders, I would rather be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders than the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, I would rather be the head coach for Mark Davis.
Me too.
Than for Jerry Jones. That's how bad
Pick your own
it
GM.
is in Dallas. Yep, I agree all the way. Hey, if you're enjoying the conversation, be sure to tune in Monday through Friday to Boston Has Entered the Chat. We talk about all the latest news in sports, Boston, around the country, each and every day. Find on YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or wherever else you get your podcasts. All right, Trav. So Mike Vrabel made his appearance on WEEI. They'll start being weekly spots. As a new head coach of the New England Patriots always does, great conversation he was having with that group on the Greg Hill show. Went almost 30 minutes. Bill O'Brien called in, but there were a few key parts that he spoke about, questions that he answered. And the one I want to start with, when he was talking about the type of players he wants to keep from this current roster, type of players, keyword here.
Sure.
And saying what separates the good players from the great players. Listen to it right here from Mike Vrabel.
Well, the communication by me is critical, that it is clear, it's clean, it's concise, and it's direct. Like you said, the transparency. I'm always going to be honest with the player. They may disagree, but I'm also going to listen to them. I'm going to listen with the intent to understand them and not listen with the intent to respond. But I'm also going to treat them the same way they treat the team. And if they treat the team really well, I'll be willing to listen to anything that they have to say, any suggestions. If they don't treat the team very well, if they don't, if they're not on time, or they're not in shape, or they don't play hard, or they don't study, or they're disrespectful to somebody in the support staff, hopefully they're not here long. But if they are, I don't have much to say to them, or not really going to take their input. So, like you mentioned, I think the biggest thing is that average players want to be left alone. They want to come in, they want to pick up their check, they want to eat for free and go home. Good players want to be coached, and great players want to be told the truth. And every great player that I've been able to coach in the past 6 years has always come and said, what do I need to do to be better? What do I need to do to be great? And you tell them, and then they seek the truth, and then their job is to then handle the truth.
Wow. Man, that was a bar right there.
Right? Average players want to be left alone. Good players want to be coached. Great players want to be told the truth. The great players seek the truth.
That's deep.
You know who I keep picturing in that entire answer? The wide receiver room.
Oh, yeah.
Think about him listing out basically what he expects. And for him, when he says, as long as they respect the team, how they treat the team, I'll treat them.
Right.
Be on time, be in shape, study, be prepared, right? And also he said, if they disrespect anyone on the support staff, which means like anyone in the building, then they're out of here.
Yeah.
Think about those wide receivers speaking out against the play calling.
Sure.
Speaking out on social media, like a KJ Osborne, now gone. But with the Kayshon Boutte of, I went up to Alex Van Pelt and I said, throw me the ball. Let's throw it deep. Or Jalen Polk, I got the best hands in the league, and he's dropping passes. But this is a guy that you clearly hear like his standard is just be a smart, dependable player. Be a professional, as we always say.
Yeah.
Man, it's just, he's a player's coach for sure. But I think he's also a disciplinarian in the way of, I will respect you. I will treat you how you treat me. I will treat you how you treat the team. I will match your energy when it comes to respect.
Yeah.
If you're disrespectful, get out of here.
Right.
Which is what this locker room needs.
Absolutely. And I also notice, and just as an overall overarching tenor of this introductory press conference from Mike Vrabel, it does seem like it is a kinder, gentler Mike Vrabel. Like, I know he's saying if you disrespect the team or anyone in the organization and the building, you're out of here. That's tough guy stuff. But in the same breath, he's also saying, look, I want a relationship where guys can come to me and be open about what's going on or off the field. Sometimes I need to just listen and not necessarily offer a solution. Maybe guys just need to vent to me. It does seem like, and he talked a great deal about relationships and all these things that he learned from his time in Tennessee. So it does seem to me like Vrabel wants to be a little more personable this time around as a head coach. Good for the Patriots. I think it'll work, especially here. His name, not that, he didn't do a great job in Tennessee, but when he showed up, his name didn't have that same gravitas in Tennessee as it does in New England. Just being here, the head coach in New England, the player he was, the Patriot way, all those things that you think of with Mike Vrabel, the champion, all those sorts of things, you have more weight here to begin with. And now you have that experience from the Titans to bring with you here. So I do think it's a kinder, gentler Mike Vrabel here to a certain extent for the Patriots.
I mean, you listen to his past interviews with the Titans, like, he knows how to talk to the players. He knows how to relate to them, but he's feared or he's respected is a better way to put it.
Yeah.
That's where the accountability comes from. Yeah, maybe it's kind of gentler, better listener, I guess you could say. he's always done well with the interviews. It's, and also like what we hear is how he dealt with the media in Tennessee.
Right.
When you get in the South, man, why aren't you being nice? He'll fire back.
Sure.
He'll hold the media accountable. I just think his energy matches the Northeast, and I think it comes back to what he said. I will always treat them the way they treat the team.
That's right.
And that's how he goes with anything. So That's how it'll be. Yet another good one. When asked about adding players in free agency, all the cash that they have to spend, here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I'm comfortable that, that Eliot and I are going to be able to find ways to add productive players, great people to this football team. And that's through the draft, that's through free agency. So I'm confident that we'll be able to have the resources that we need to go sign players within a limit. And we understand that free agency isn't the only answer. It's not 100%, as you all know, but it's about adding the right players and that we feel like can help the team and that we're comfortable with. And sometimes if you don't know them, you also don't know what you're going to get.
Adding players are comfortable with, adding great players for the team.
Yep.
It's just everything with him goes back to character on that. He doesn't talk about ability, but I think that's a reflection on like that's not his concern. Like he knows, he's saying in a way without saying it, he knows how to scout. He knows what to look for in a talented player. He talked about his receivers, and we'll get into that. The type of receiver he covets. For him, it's just everything comes back to culture. It's how much he was loved as a head coach when he was with the Titans, how much he was loved as a coach wherever he went, Ohio State, Houston, and then Tennessee, of course, and with Cleveland. For him, it just all comes back to what it means in the locker room. And, hey, that's how he came up as a player when he was in New England. It was him. It was Teddy Bruschi. It was guys like that.
Veteran
they
guys.
set the tone in the locker room. And it's not common to be that way, but those are the type of players it seems like he's seeking out. Like, have those guys in the locker room. Like, there's a David Andrews that he's familiar with.
Veteran guys.
That's a guy that's that, but it needs to be more. We saw David Andrews get injured, Jabril Peppers be suspended. The type of guys they need to have as leaders in the locker room, that's what he's looking for. And he says it. He won't put a timeline, but everything comes back to character for him right now, where he knows that's what's essential.
I'm not going to lie, bro. We already want this dude anyway, but T. Higgins just sounds like a beautiful fit with a Mike Vrabel Patriot for everything he just described. T. Higgins, veteran guy, been around a Hall of Fame talent, Jamar Chase, knows how to be a pro, played with a great quarterback in Joe Burrow, comes from a good, not great program, but a good program there in Cincy. T. Higgins makes a lot of sense. By the way, you talk about culture. Was that soundbite not refreshing after hearing, we're going to burn some cash, baby? Woo! I mean, we went from mommy and daddy are gone on vacation, let's have a kegger, to we're going to be responsible. We're going to study for our SATs. I mean, it is beautiful. How refreshing.
It's a guy that has a vision and direction. And again, it was like funny when we watched it, but it was his presser. I knew he was going to win it. It's everything you want to hear from a head coach. It's actual answers. It's an actual vision. The report that came out last week in the Boston Herald from Kide and Callahan, where players, a criticism they had of Jayden Maye was, we didn't know what the vision was. We always heard about the North Star. Well, what was the North Star? Mike Vrabel could say, hey, we have a North Star we're all going to. And the players could be like, what is that? And he goes, it's this, this, and this.
A plan.
It's direction. It's vision. It's a plan.
Yep.
It's actual steps to get to the end goal.
Yep.
It's an actual path to success. It's actual solutions. And I think that's what's important with him. Here's the answer I loved listening to because, it's talking about actual like attributes of players. When he was asked about the offense, how they need a receiver, this is what Mike Vrabel had to say.
The point is that when we throw it, which will be as many times as we need to, that you want to be efficient, right? That you want to have great completion percentage, which then leads to receivers. Going back to the question about receivers that have great catch radius, right? That can create separation, that are good against contested catches, right? Because when you're contested and PBUs go up in the air, then they get intercepted, right? And then that leads to turnovers, which then changes field position and all these things. So we have to focus on the line because I think that the best teams right now in the National Football League are the ones that still have the best offensive lines that are changing the line of scrimmage, protecting the passer, have versatility in a run game, can run a zone scheme, can run a gap scheme, because I don't think you can just major in just saying zone, right? Because teams that penetrate and disrupt the zone play, you got to be able to find ways to double and move gaps and change gaps and force them to move positions. So with that being said, want to focus on some of those areas. Offensive line, we'll take a look and see what skill we have here at receiver and give everybody a new opportunity to kind of come in. It's a clean slate. Decide who wants to be here by their actions, and then continue to evaluate.
Hear that with receivers, catch radius, possession receiver, can make contested catches. He even talks about PBUs become interceptions, reliable winners on the outside, receivers that get separation. And that's like he's constantly asked about Drake Maye. And he goes, well, I want to be efficient. We want to be smart. And the beginning of his answer, too, was, look, when you have Tom Brady, you can throw the ball 50 times. And he goes, I'm not saying we don't have a great quarterback. We're going to do what we're going to win. And when he talks about efficiency, it all goes back to being smart on offense and helping out his quarterback. As talented as Drake Maye is, he's not going to all rely on him. And even answers he was given as well of, you're known as a run-heavy guy. He goes, yeah, we had Derrick Henry. My best player was Derrick Henry.
Right.
He's about building an offense around the best player. He brings up the offensive line and the versatility, being able to run the ball in multiple schemes. And that's what Ramondre Stevenson loved, the power game. He didn't love the wide zone concepts, right? The zone run scheme concepts to begin the season. Okay, well, he's like, we don't have to do it one way. We have to be versatile. We have to be flexible, but also cater to the personnel.
Yeah.
But again, he lists out what he looks for in a receiver. He lists out what he looks for in an offensive lineman. He's listing out what he's looking for in an offensive system. I think that's so important.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with all those pieces being upgraded. But I tell you what, schematically, I loved when he started talking about the offensive line, the blocking scheme, and having a versatile run game. That tells me everything I was screaming for last season. Creativity and play calling, George. Running the football can be creative. You can do it in different ways. It's not just line up and play smash mouth. Like, I like hearing this from Vrabel. We're going to have particular blocking schemes. We want versatile backs. I like Ramondre, but there's other ways to do this. I love hearing this from Vrabel, and I think when you speak of efficiency, if you can get this run game right, which, by the way, is much quicker to improve and to fix. Yeah. You can fix a run game overnight, okay? Offensive linemen that wake up and choose violence. They want to run through you and open up gaps for your running back. And then backs that can hit the hole. If you want to go by running back by committee, if it's Ramondre, if you want to bring in a complimentary piece, whatever you want to do, bruh. But the run game, however you get it churning, get it cranked up, and that can help Drake Maye be more efficient.
And it's just when I go back to the wide receivers he lists out, and I understand the name T. Higgins keeps coming up. That's also a guy that's missed 10 games the last 2 seasons. And one thing that Mike Vrabel has brought up, even in the short time he's been the Patriots head coach, like soft tissue injuries, he has no tolerance for that because that's a reflection of you being in shape. And T. Higgins has dealt with that. But let's see him in a better culture, in a better building. And yes, he'd be getting paid, but at that point being the guy, which he's done when Jamar Chase has missed games.
Yep.
It's the other receivers, let's say you could get in free agency. Look, you're not going to be excited by this name, but if there is a 6'1", 210-pound wide receiver, will be 28 next season, and can get you 70 catches, around 800 yards, and averages 15 yards a catch, you'd be bought in on that, right?
Hell yeah.
That's a wide receiver too.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sell you anything crazy. Darius Slayton, he's going to be a free agent. What he's been dealt, the hand he's been dealt with the Giants, quarterback-wise, I'm talking about. That's a guy you go out and get, and it goes back to that free agency answer
it's gonna be cheaper than T. Higgins, too.
But that wouldn't be the one.
Right.
Hey, they don't add more than one receiver this offseason, Trav, right?
Yeah.
Because also, let's go back to, and what people get excited about, that answer on the receivers, right? Big catch radius, go to contested catches, get separation. Ted McMillan checks the first 2 boxes, not the separation box. Like his vacuum hands, I love his catch radius. I love him in the red zone.
It's kind of like Drake London a little.
Oh, yes,
player comp.
Exactly. And he'd be good in a West Coast offense where play action can get him open, but he's reliable once you throw him the ball.
Yeah.
Like that's what he can do. He needs a better route tree. But instead of going high on that, maybe you get someone similar later in the draft. It'd be a Trey Harris, right? It'd be a Pat Bryant out of Illinois. But when you add a Darius Slayton and a T. Higgins, and then you could go later in the draft to get other guys you could build upon, that's how it goes. And same thing with the offensive line, like Alaric Jackson from the Rams. They'd have to overpay. But hey, if you get Darius Slayton a bargain and then you overpay for Alaric Jackson, that's how you work the cap. It's just what I'm excited that you hear from a head coach is actual solutions,
Yes.
actual ideas,
Yes.
actual answers.
Yes.
Right? It's not just filling stuff out there.
Right.
And he brings up him and Eliot Wolf. Sounds like he's open to working with them. I mean, he mentioned him a ton. Ryan Cowden sounds like he's coming in, but it'll be under Wolf, and we'll see how it all works out.
R.I.P. burning some cash, man. It was nice while it lasted, wasn't it?
And like
We're gonna burn some cash.
And I don't want to hear we're going to burn some cash. I want to hear actual answers.
Right.
Right? I don't care how much you spend. If you spend it right, that's what matters. And they didn't do that last offseason. You want the latest on the Patriots and the NFL? Drake Maye needs help. We discuss how he can get it quick on Ness's football podcast, Foxborough Rush. Available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever else podcasts are found. That is Foxborough Rush. New episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. All right, Trav.
All right.
Super wild card weekend
Yeah.
was great, man.
Yeah.
I owe you lunch.
You do.
You let me know tomorrow. You make a decision. You shoot me a text. I'll get you lunch.
I mean, I'll take that.
Because I bet on the Vikings over the Rams.
We ain't got to wait till tomorrow. I'm hungry right now.
One thing I didn't bet on
I mean,
was Sam Darnold looking that bad.
you should have.
No.
I tried to tell you.
No. He put together such a big body
I
of work
know.
over this season. And take the Lions game away. I mean, that was him being blitzed heavy. Dude, it was the pressure getting quick to him in the first half, 6 sacks, finished with 9. But the amount of times he was holding onto the ball.
I know.
And you could tell by the reactions, Kevin O'Connell on the sideline, like Sam Darnold just diverted back to seeing ghosts, New York Jets, Sam Darnold. A guy that could have made $30 million a year. He's going to have
know.
another prove-it deal from the Vikings, I think, as a backup.
Well, just think of the teams still there. I mean, outside of Stafford, all these teams have drafted and developed their quarterbacks, right? And I mean, now Stafford's a veteran, you get it, but Stafford was a cut above anyways. He's always been a blue chip guy. All I think is Baker Mayfield lost, Sam Darnold lost. These reclamation projects at quarterbacks are great stories. But in the end, the longer your season goes, the bigger the stage, the more at stake. It turns midnight quick. And brothers get to turning into pumpkins. And I'm seeing a lot of pumpkins. But the formula's there. Draft your guy, develop your guy. Hello, Patriots. And I think you're okay. Blue chippers matter.
Oh,
Nothing
yeah.
against Sam Darnold, but it turned into midnight quick. Last couple weeks.
Think of the teams remaining. Jared Goff, first-round pick.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Jayden Daniels, first-round
Blue
pick.
chippers.
Matt Stafford, number 1 overall
Blue
pick,
chipper.
as was Goff, right?
Yes.
Mahomes, top 10 pick.
That's my point.
C.J. Stroud, number 2 overall pick. Josh Allen, first-round pick.
The defense
Lamar
rest.
Jackson, first-round pick. The one outlier, Jalen Hurts.
He was still a draft pick and developed by the Eagles.
Yeah, that's fine.
my point.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, with everyone that thinks draft and develop late,
Sure.
no. First-round talent's first-round
Yes.
talent for a reason.
Yes.
Guys that were drafted in the 6th round were drafted in the 6th round for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Milton. Excuse me. Had something there.
We all heard you.
Matt Stafford, look, the one thing, and let me own up to this. Let me eat crow. We talked through it on this pod. We broke down the game. And I said at the end, Kevin O'Connell's going to have to think for Sam Darnold. And as I said that, I go, that doesn't work. And I said with the matchups, the Vikings are the most blitz-heavy defense in the NFL. Matt Stafford is the best against the blitz. He was blitzed 69% of his dropbacks. He went 10 for 16, threw a touchdown, 116 NFL passer rating. Stafford and McVay, man. The secondary confusing Sam Darnold on the back end, but him confusing himself. You need the Stallions when you need them.
Ready for a hot take?
Don't.
Eagles are next.
No.
In Philly.
Opposite of that, Eagles don't blitz. Eagles have 2 really good corners that can match up with Kupp and Nakua. Eagles get home, rushing 4. Eagles have the 2 best tackles in the NFL with a really good run game. You're not going to shut down like this, where you have Cam Robinson filling in for Christian Darrisaw, who was lost, and then their starting right tackle went out for the game. Eagles aren't much better constructed team. Don't get all It was Sam Darnold that the Rams beat. It was Sam Darnold. There were open receivers downfield he wasn't seeing. Do not compare the Eagles to Sam Darnold.
We can bet another lunch.
I'm down. You want
Just
a double
saying.
or nothing?
Just saying.
You want a double or nothing?
No, I need that lunch.
Okay,
today.
fine.
I'm
We're
hungry.
betting lunch. I'll bet it right now. No, next week's lunch. I'm taking Eagles.
I'm
You got
too damn
Rams?
hungry.
All right, I'll get you lunch. No double or nothing.
We'll talk about it after I eat.
I'm taking the Eagles.
It could just be the hanger talk.
Yep, you hear that. Exactly. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. That's
Could
what
be
we
the
get.
year. Could be the year. It could be the year for either, but it just feels Lamar-ish to me because you beat your rival Steelers. Man, if you could go to Buffalo and beat Josh and go to Arrowhead and beat Mahomes, the Ravens are winning the Super Bowl. There's no way in hell they're going to lose to Detroit or Philly or whoever. I mean, it's starting to feel like it could be Lamar's time, George. It is.
I think with it, winning in Buffalo is hard.
Yeah.
We talk about pumpkins. Lamar's been that guy in the postseason. I have bigger belief in Josh Allen. And look, this Bills team, they can win in Arrowhead. The Chiefs' path, man, they get the Texans. They're going to dominate them at home. It was close when they played last time. Chiefs are going to win. AFC Championship game, in my opinion, is the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Chiefs, Bills. I think Bills come out of
Winner of that wins the whole thing.
Hey, Josh Allen wins. Lamar Jackson wins. I love it.
Sure.
I absolutely love it either way. That's what will be interesting.
Sick of them damn Chiefs.
It was a good wild card weekend. Jayden Daniels taking on Lions. That's going to be exciting too, man. It's going to be exciting too. Hey, you want to hear great quarterback talk? We got it for you right here. Travis Thomas's guy, now a friend of the program, Jason Campbell, stopped by. He talked everything, but here's what he had to say when he was breaking down the game of Jayden Daniels.
Talk to us about that young man in Washington playing the position used to play there, because that kid, Jayden Daniels, is the truth. We see him win a playoff game, Jason.
Right. Yep. Yeah. First playoff game since 05.
Yep.
You know, and you think about, like, you know, Cliff Kingsbury, everyone, you know, he went to USC. First, he had Calamari. You know, Calipari put up some good numbers underneath him. But then all of a sudden, you know, he goes to USC. He's out there as the head coach at Arizona. He go to USC. Okay, he helped Caleb Williams, you know, pretty much wins the Heisman, right? So he's helping out there. Then all of a sudden, Washington gets the job. Dan Quinn gets the job. What's the first thing he does? Okay, I'll watch Jayden Daniels film. You know, I covered LSU when we played LSU in college. Like, the kid is a great success, allowing him to be Jayden Daniels. Mm-hmm. And what Dan Quinn did, Dan Quinn said, okay, I'm going to go and get someone to come in here that know exactly what they're doing offensively to utilize this kid's talent. So what do he go do? He goes and he hires Cliff Kingsbury to come in there. And Cliff Kingsbury come in there, and now these guys are running the same system that he ran similar to LSU, where they're letting him run the ball. They're not afraid of running him. They're letting him scramble. They let him hit the quick throws. They let him hit the down the field throws. So they hit you at every angle of the football field that's out there. And they allow him to be Jayden Daniels. They go for it on fourth downs more than anybody. You know, so they don't guardrails around him saying, oh, because he's a rookie quarterback, you know, we can't give him too much to do. No, they've earned the trust to allow him to do what makes him successful. And I think sometimes you make a mistake trying to hold these young quarterbacks back. That's why you saw Bo Nix have some success this year as well. You know, because they allow him to be Bo Nix, run around, make plays, you know, stay in the pocket, make throws, but they fit to what those guys do well. That's the difference between great offensive-minded coaches and just a guy with a title. You think about Andy Reid. Andy Reid never taught his quarterbacks the same thing. You know, from a talent perspective, he never put them in a box. What he did with Alex Smith is totally what he does with Patrick Mahomes. You know, what he did with Donovan McNabb was totally different what he did with Kevin Cobb. You know, but he made every quarterback that he had a Pro Bowler. Why? Yeah. Because Andy Reid fits what his quarterback does well. It wasn't a system for him. It's, I'm going to build the offense around what my guys do well. That's what makes great offensive-minded coaches. And you think about the guy out there in Minnesota, Sam Darnold. Everybody left him out to dry to just say he's just a straight backup for 10, 15 years. Sam Darnold has had the exceptional year. Kirk Cousins had a great year when he was in Minnesota for those 2 years. Why? Because the coach that calls those plays, he builds the system to what those guys do well. Now, it doesn't hurt to have Justin Jefferson and all those guys, but at the same time, though, this kid is playing using his arm strength. Sam Darnold always could throw the football. We knew he had arm strength. Yep. Now he's a system that allows him to flourish with his arm strength. So Jayden Daniels, man, has done an outstanding job. Like I said, got Washington divisional round coming up against Detroit this week. It's going to be a fun game to watch. But just excited for him, man, that he's in a position where he didn't have to change or go through so much chaos. Like I said, you have everything, new ownership, new GM, new head coach, new quarterback. All those four things go together, and they all are lined up like this. You know, there's not one stepping over the other. It's just it's a line of order. And then on top of that, man, they position him to have success because, like I said, they brought in Bobby Wagner, brought in guys, on the outside to help the offensive line and everything. So it's not just all Jayden, but Jayden is very poised. I'm so happy to see what he's doing from a success standpoint, playing in that game last night.
Jason, ain't going to be no field goals or punts in that Lions-Commanders game. They going for it every fourth down. Go ahead, George. They going for it every fourth down, Jason.
And I just want to say you're preaching to the choir. Sometimes we see these coaching moves being made. I'm like, what are you doing? And remember when Cam Taylor-Britt came out and said, yeah, well, they run a college offense. It's like, yeah, it's not the worst thing, but
that's right.
The college offense, it makes it easier for your rookie quarterback and for him to continue to grow. And you point out to it. I mean, it's going to be Jayden Daniels, and it's going to be against Jared Goff. Jared Goff, a cast-off. Look what Ben Johnson did. Look at what Dave Canales has done. With Geno Smith, with Baker Mayfield, with Bryce Young. I'll save that for another time. Jason, I love that you point out everything that's great about Jayden Daniels. And we saw in this past draft, it went Caleb Williams 1, Jayden Daniels 2, Drake Maye 3.
Yep.
If you were drafting this year, those are the 3 quarterbacks. How do you think the top 3 would go?
Ooh. Yeah, still have to. Jayden Daniels will be 1, right? Hindsight 2020. But then again, it's hard to say that because what if you take Caleb Williams and put him with Cliff Kingsbury? And he's in the same system now as Jayden in, and he's allowed to do the same things. We saw him when Washington played against Chicago. That kid was having pretty much a good game as well, running around. But that system is not a college system, like the one that Jayden Daniels run. Like Jayden Daniels are allowed to have so much success. So it's kind of tough because some quarterbacks just end up in bad situations.
Yep.
And some quarterbacks are just blessed to end up in great situations. I always tell guys, man, it's a blessing to get to the National Football League, but it's even more of a blessing to get drafted to the right teams and the right organization that knows how to build from those standpoints. When you talk about, Jayden and Caleb, like Chicago has had problems for years as well. But if I'm them, okay, if you're gonna draft this kid number 1, then go get a college coach that knows how to run that system that he was so successful with at USC. You look at Bo Nix. Bo Nix ended up with an experienced head coach who had Drew Brees in the Saints, and they run every style of play formats that you can ever even think of when Sean Payton was in New Orleans.
That's right.
So and everyone talked about, Drew Brees was undersized and all this. Look what he did with Drew Brees. He tailored the system what Drew Brees did quickly. Like Drew Brees' offense doesn't look like the same offense as in Denver right now. Like Drew Brees' offense, there was a lot of timing throws. There was ball out. He's get back quick. He knew how to deliver. Why? Because Drew Brees' arm strength wasn't as great, but his mind, he knew where the ball needed to go before the person actually got to the spot, because that's how he was going to excel in the National Football League. Where Bo Nix, he's not that same type of quarterback where he's going to drop bad balls out on 3 and all that. Bo's a scrambler. He's a runner. He likes to get out on the edge. He throws better outside the pocket than most of the times he does inside the pocket because he's most comfortable. So you build a system that way for these young guys and everything, man. So I just think in the order they would probably go Jayden Daniels. Like I said, we didn't get a chance to see the McCarthy kid in the Minnesota offense this year. That would have been fun to watch because the way that Sam has tore it up this year in that system, it just makes you wonder, like, okay, what would this kid have done as well in that system? It's just kind of tough, man, because a lot of it just depend on where you end up at. It just and who's around you. Like Drake Maye, I would just write this year for him as just a year of getting experience. It's just hard to judge anything off of him as a quarterback. I think this year coming up would be more of a value for him to really who is Drake Maye? Right. So I think you just have to count last year as a wash.
The NBA season is here, and the big question is, will the Celtics repeat and claim banner 19? You can find everything about the NBA, the culture around the league, and all around the league on NESN's basketball podcast, Hold My Banner. Available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever else podcasts are found. He's Athan Hristodulu. You guys know him. He's always recapping Raw with us. Now on Netflix. It's always fun talking to you, Ath. Welcome back on the chat, man.
Oh, pleasure to be back on and talk some more wrestling with you guys today.
What do you think of week 2? What do you think of week 2, man?
So this is probably going to be a hot take based off of what I saw from a lot of the people on socials, but little bit slower. I don't want to call it a dud, just not as eventful as I would have liked the follow-up to be, but I understand not wanting to, there's going to be peaks and valleys with this. So a little bit of a slower show, but there were some good things I took out of it.
Yeah. Was this sorry, George, was this a Netflix thing, Athan, you think, or just a slow time and wrestling?
So there were some weird things, and this is how wrestling shows work. You'll have like peaks and valleys because you have to set things up further down the road. Yep. So this felt more like a setup show than anything else, whereas last week was kind of like a culminate peak type deal.
The way I like to look at it, it's like, kind of Game of Thrones, right? You're going to debut season 5. You got people riding dragons, stuff going on fire, Arya turning blind. And then episode 2, you got to set some stuff up.
Exactly.
And if anyone's mad, I just put out a spoiler. The show's been out for 27 years, so shut up.
I didn't watch it anyways, and I still followed you.
Hey, man, I want to start with the Penta debut because I grew up a diehard Rey Mysterio fan. This guy has been wrestling since 2004.
Wow.
Known as the second best luchador ever, behind the great Mysterio. Ray loved seeing his debut. What did you think of Penta, a.k.a. Pentagon Jr.? What do you think of Penta finally making his debut on WWE after his contract with AEW has been up?
I thought it was good, and this is where some of the diehard internet wrestling fans might hate me here, but I am a through and through WWE guy, so I don't explore too much outside the big brand, but I do at least know of him. I've seen some of his work before, but I thought it was good. It was a great way to introduce him to the fans, and I thought he and Chad Gable was a good opponent, and it made a lot of sense. Chad Gable, one of the just best wrestlers as far as the craft goes in my eyes, and I think a lot of people would agree with that when it comes to just purely the wrestling standpoint of things. He can work with everybody, so it was a good match. The Mexican driver, unbelievable. I know we were all looking at that surrounding a computer earlier today. I thought that was a fantastic move. I wish we could show video of that kind of stuff because that was the big up for me on that match there, but really impressed with what he can do, and I'm excited to see how WWE utilizes him.
I think it's a big week for luchadors overall. We saw that viral clip of like some police officer in China taking a guy down to 619, and now we got Penta making his debut. I mean, that Mexican Destroyer, that's a move you watch. Destroyer or Driver? Do we know?
I believe it's called the Mexican Destroyer. Did I say Driver? I might have said Driver.
Hey, it is
a modified pile driver. Yeah,
whatever you want to call it, I do not care. It was absolutely filthy. He does that. He also pulled off the sacrifice on Chad Gables too. What I loved about him, just like Mysterio, the crazy luchador mask, got some extra makeup. The overall, what he's rocking. I mean, this guy, it's all about the performance. Him making his appearance, he got fire from the walk-in.
Yep.
It's the pops, it's the juice, it's the excitement, and what you want to those viral clips. Like, he seems to have it all, Eighth.
Oh, absolutely. He's definitely somebody that it's going to take specific booking to make work, especially with his style, trying to mesh it with, because WWE style and luchador style wrestling are two very different things. So it's something that WWE needs to be smart about who they pair him with and how they work him into stories and just the guys that they've put him up against. But I'm excited to just see where they go with him.
He's a bigger cat than Mysterio, too.
I
think
definitely.
That's more entertaining. Yep. All right. CM Punk, Seth Rollins. How far, take me down a rabbit hole here, how far can the WWE take this storyline, you think?
So from everything that I've gathered, there's legitimate beef between these two guys. I've seen Seth Rollins do some interviews. I've seen Punk do interviews. There's legitimate beef with how CM Punk split from WWE and just the shots he took at the brand overall from his time being gone to coming back. So there is real sentimental dislike between the two. Whether they've healed that, whatnot, and this is all for the show now going forward, I don't necessarily know. But there's a lot that you can still do with this, and part of it has to do with the Royal Rumble. And I can kind of use this as a bit of a segue for the Rumble as well, and the discussion there with who I think is going to win. But part of the Royal Rumble can either help them put this story away if they're done with it, or it can ignite it even further in the lead up to WrestleMania. So there is definitely plenty to be done here.
All right, man. I mean, we heard CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, John Cena, all these guys declare for the Royal Rumble. What are you thinking about that overall? Set up.
So
George likes Cena, Athan. You know that.
Listen, you know what? I have a big 3 in mind for who can realistically win the Royal Rumble this year. And where I stand right now, with I believe only it's like 7 or 8 people that have actually declared for the Rumble match itself, there's a big 3 that I think realistically have a chance to win, and it's CM Punk, It's Roman Reigns and it's John Cena.
All right, at least I'm in that top three.
George.
I'm in that top three.
So Cena,
alive.
Cena's in my top 3. Now, out of those 3 guys, he is my number 3, only because there is the piece of me that, for the story that he is trying to write as this being his last year,
Exactly.
I could see it being used as a way to catapult him into WrestleMania to setting up a good match with Gunther.
Sure.
However,
Yeah.
I don't think that's the route they go, and part of that has to do with WWE kind of showing their hand with the way they're planning the next few months, because they're heavily advertising him for Elimination Chamber. And if that's the case, if you guys haven't seen what an Elimination Chamber is, I'll take you back later. We'll take a look and you can see what I'm talking about here.
gonna work the YouTube machine
6-man match inside of a cage. It's pretty intense. I have a feeling that is the route they go with him winning to get into Mania as like a last-ditch effort title match type of opportunity for him. So that's what I'm thinking for him. The other 2 that I'm stuck on is Punk and Reigns. And where you had asked me about Seth Rollins and CM Punk, Travis, I think this is where the WWE can keep that flame hot.
Okay.
In where if CM Punk's winning the Rumble,
Yeah.
he's eliminating Seth last. So he's the second to last guy standing.
Sure.
You're
But
giving us down to the wire. I like it.
oh, absolutely. Believe me, I've been stewing on this all day. And then if it's not CM Punk winning, Seth Rollins is eliminating him, who then ultimately gets him eliminated by, whoever else. Or maybe
Sure.
CM Punk gets eliminated, angrily gets Seth Rollins eliminated too, because we've seen that before. So it comes down to my number 1 in Roman Reigns. And the way I see it is there's a lot of rumors with Rock potentially not making WrestleMania now. And if that is the possibility that we're looking at, it would make sense for Reigns to set up for a rematch with Cody. We get that match part 2. So I really like Roman as the guy, especially with his family issues and the bloodline stuff behind him as well. I think the next logical step is rematch with Cody if Rock's not going to be a part.
I actually have a question about Cody, but before we get there, I want to follow up. What are the rumors with The Rock not being at WrestleMania?
So Dave Meltzer, and he's a guy that I take his information with a grain of salt, did report a while ago that he was hearing that Rock might not be a part of Mania, and Rock himself went as far as to dismiss it himself on social media. But now it's starting to come out again that that's a possibility, and people are talking about it because of the way that Raw ended last week with Rock putting the Ulafala on Roman and it seemed like smoothing over his issues with Cody, that there's maybe a chance that none of this is going to happen. I could be completely off and I could be wrong, but there's just a lot of signs pointing to it. So in my head, I'm like, all right, well, if this is the way it's going, Roman winning is the logical solution there, with The Rock maybe just being a guy on the sideline in the lead up, if anything.
All right.
But we get a better setup turn if you think about it. Him and The Rock are good. Him and Cody Rhodes are good.
Right.
Roman Reigns fine, and then one of those 2 take him out. And the devil's advocate in me, Athan, when I think about this from the John Cena angle, everything's leading up for Reigns, right? And I understand everything you're laying out. But this is Cena's last ride. Cena eliminate Reigns in the end. Then Roman next year, 2026. That's where he gets his Royal Rumble win.
Yeah, I mean,
you with me?
Oh, absolutely. And that is the beauty of this pro wrestling entertainment we call the WWE. Anything is possible, and you can set up turns and twists in any which way, and you never really know where it's going to go. And things are always fluid when it comes to pro wrestling. But I mean, just for me, and selfishly, I want Punk to win. I want him to get the main event that he's been trying to get at WrestleMania for his entire career. A big piece of why, he ended up leaving the first time around.
Sure.
So I would love for him to selfishly get that win over Seth Rollins. If it's them two at the end, he's eliminating Seth. I also have the idea that if he eliminates Seth, there's further beef where Seth maybe finds his way into the championship match that Punk is being given for winning the Rumble, and turning it into a triple threat between whoever it is that Punk winds up challenging if he's the one that ends up winning the Rumble.
By the way, Roman Reigns has won the Royal Rumble before,
Oh, yeah.
so it wouldn't be his first
I'm just saying the big
rodeo,
one,
at
the big
least.
one,
Yeah,
the comeback.
for sure.
You know?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the WWE would do what they could to rewrite his first Rumble win because it was not good. Reign of booze. It was heavily scripted.
Really?
Yeah, The Rock actually came out to try to raise his arm and give him the sign of approval that he's the next in line for the Samoan dynasty, and nothing but booze. That's wrestling lore we can get into some other time.
Next
But
week.
yeah, something that they would love to change if they could.
Wrestling fans will boo you quick. We learned that for sure.
Oh,
All right,
absolutely.
let me ask you this one. Now, Cody Rhodes has won the Royal Rumble twice. There won't be a third time because he's taking on Kevin Owens in the ladder match there. Who do you like in that one?
I mean, I definitely like Cody. Listen, I will say them bringing back the Winged Eagle belt, having Kevin Owens run around with it, and the fact that they're utilizing it as a piece for the ladder match that they have, I think is really exciting. It's one of those things where I didn't grow up with that championship, but it was a championship that I looked at as a kid and was like, wow, that's the historical piece of WWE that you didn't get to see, but you always see in the pictures and the clips and the highlights and things like that. So I love that it's finding a way to be incorporated into today's WWE product, but it's got to be Cody. Him losing, and this is me just being like the realistic, pull myself out of the fandom Athan here. Him losing at the Royal Rumble to Kevin Owens doesn't make any sense. I'm expecting it to be very entertaining, and I'm sure that they have some sort of either convoluted and or just entertaining way that the match will end that maybe sets some stuff up further for them down the road. But unfortunately, I think this one's cut and dry. It's Cody. I'd be shocked if it's not.
Last one I got, 2025, this upcoming Royal Rumble's in Indy. Next year is in Saudi Arabia.
Oh.
What better way to have the Royal Rumble in Saudi than with Roman Reigns winning it? I'm all in on Cena this year. I'm going to keep convincing myself how it's going to happen.
This is what he does with football, too, Athan. It drives me nuts.
Oh, believe me, I've seen it.
He wants to talk about the 2028 draft. I'm like, let's just focus.
Hey, you know what I'm setting up? Us three, trip to Saudi Arabia.
Oh.
I got some cousins over there. We got some translators. Don't worry. I'll take care of that all.
Okay.
And we got the chat live from Royal Rumble out in Saudi. We'll get to Indy, too. I know, Eighth, you want to go back to Lucas Oil Stadium.
I would do anything.
See some wins.
Is that in the budget? Can we get that? Can we just
find it?
All right, 2 weeks, guys. Get us to Indianapolis for the Rumble.
Facts.
He's Athan Hristodulu. Eighth, as always, appreciate you stopping by, man, talking some wrestling with us. It was another fun week. I'm George Balekji. He's Travis Thomas. He's Eighth, and this was Boston Has Entered the Chat. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. And if you're watching on Nesson's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button as well. Email us, thechat@nesson.com, or use the hashtag NessonChat if you want to join the conversation. GB, Double T, Big Eighth. We'll see you guys next time.